Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with selections for Saturday, the 25th of February. Well, the horses are still running at the moment, so one last win and may make us show a profit. I can't remember what the price is, but it's been a disappointing day, really. The first bet was a no-go, really. It was two places, a non-runner and a nowhere. So it was just a bit less than money back. And then tonight's meeting has been really it's been dreadful. So apologies, I'm really tired at the moment. I just feel a bit under the weather, but there's three bets on the horses for Saturday, and then the bet on the football. So I'm going to talk you through it now. So Saturday's bets for the 25th of February 2023 are as follows. The first bet is a big price each way sniffs. The bet comes to £6.20. So I've had a 10 pence each way Yankee, and then I have 50 pence each way singles. There's some really tasty prices here. One of the races, you're going to have to be careful when you put it on. You need to double check whether there's still 8 runners or not. It's a race I've kind of taken a risk with. So let me get into it. So in the 12:47 at Chepstow, I've gone for Dear Alfie. The trainer won it last year. This horse, it's got a little bit of a, let's call it sniff, but it's got to improve. But there's so many question marks over the favourites. It's right about 40 to 1 at the moment. The second selection is in the 12:55 at Lingfield, and it's called Victory March. The third selection is in the 1:43 at Newcastle, called Boland Bell. And the final selection in this bet is in the 3:15 at Lingfield, and the horse is called Out Rule. All these selections are with Sky Bet. Generally, I've gone for extra place races, but not all of them are. So if you want to look at the race, and then you can find out that you can get a better place. It's all about getting the places, not so much the prices or the best odds guaranteed, because I'd sooner it be slightly worse price and it actually getting a place, because there's no point finishing one place out of the places and you're getting 200 to 1 when it's only 5. It's still a loser. Makes no difference. So personally, I would always go for the extra place wherever you can. The second bet is what I call the good value each way bets. It totals a fiver. These are horses roughly round about between 10s and 16s. So the first selection, so the 50 pence each way doubles and £1 each way trebles. The first selection is in the 1:22 at Chepstow, and it's called Chestnut Pete. This horse has got decent form and it's right up there with the fancied horses. I just think it's been overlooked because it's from a smaller trainer, Sophie Leach, but definitely interesting. The second selection is in the 1:50 at Kempton, and it's Perseus Way. I think it's a complete monkey if I'm being honest, but it's a bit of a dodgy race, and as you'll see a bit later on, I've actually gone for another horse in the race as well, like a much bigger price. And the final selection in this bet is in the 3:25 at Newcastle. This is my kind of nap of the day. I do think the favourite, I think is it Kitty's Light, is going to be really hard to beat. You can quite clearly see that it's been set up for that race, but I do think Wrath and could run at least a place. It ran in this race last year, only to weaken last off. I think it came 6th. So they're paying, I believe it to be first 5, and it's roughly about 16 to 1. So I think it's a decent bet. So that's that bet. So let's scroll down to the main bet, and it's quite a chunky bet. So you decide what kind of stakes you want. The main bet comes to £27.60, and some tasty prices, but also some horses that are basically the tasty prices are the first 2 that I mentioned, and then the last 4 are like anywhere between 7s and about 14s. So the first select, so basically it's 10 pence each way lucky 63. 30 pence each way doubles and 15 pence each way trebles. The first selection is in the 4:10 at Kempton, and the horse is called Ballyhome. In the 1:50 at Kempton, I've gone for the Churchill Lad, the outside of the lot. It could make, well, I say it could make, or it will lead, or more than likely lead. Hopefully it gets an easy lead. It can decide how it wants to run itself, whether it sets a fast pace or whether it sets a slow pace, hoping for a bit of a sprint finish. It may catch a few out, so we'll see how that one runs. And then in the 3 o'clock at Kempton, I've gone for Clondor Castle. I believe it could be a pretty quick pace, and it should pick them off late on. How many it picks off, who knows? But hopefully it picks them all off and it wins. So I think that's about nines, I think, currently. In the 325 at Newcastle, once again I've gone for Wrath and Earth. In the 157 at Chepstow, I've gone for Al Zarakan. I do think there's probably better handicap horses. I think this could turn into a sprint, and it's flat form and flat speed, and also its flat trainer. I think it could quite easily have a bit of a tactical advantage over the rest if it turns into a sprint, which I think it could do. And finally, in the 7 minutes past 3 race at Chepstow, I've gone for Surrey Quest. So those are all the horse racing bets. And finally, the football bet. So I always advise to try and have all the bets. If you can't afford the entire bet, which comes to £48.80, split everything in half, all the stakes throughout the bet if you can. So obviously it comes to about 25 quid. If not, do it a quarter, but it makes it awkward when you do a quarter because sometimes the lower stakes you can't go below a certain amount. But the football bet is a £6 over 2.5 goals, and as you can see, I've spelt that wrong. So there you go. £6 over 2.5 goals treble. The matches are, it doesn't matter who win, you go to the over 2.5 goals betting, and it's West Brom versus Middlesbrough, MK Dons versus Ipswich, and Mansfield versus Salford. And once again, it's the same bet. Sorry, it's the same teams for the next bet, which is a £2.75 treble over 3.5 goals treble. Same teams: West Brom versus Middlesbrough, MK Dons versus Ipswich, and Mansfield versus Salford. And finally, a £1.25 over 4.5 goals treble. The same teams as you can see. The reason I've gone for those teams is because currently, if you'd have followed the anti-post bet, it's now beginning to look a bit interesting. I can't remember the stakes exactly. I think it was something like a £2.50 each way trebles and £2.50 each way accumulator. Well, I had Erling Haaland to a top goal scorer. Well, that will weighed in after about a fortnight, to be honest. It was about 1-16, I think, last time I saw. Well, we got him at 9-2. And then we had Middlesbrough each way. So basically that was to come in the first three. Well, that was game over early days. But then all of a sudden, obviously, Michael Carrick's the manager now. They're absolutely flying. They're in third. And they're going from strength to strength to strength. And another win, or another good win, on Saturday could seem, well, I say cement it, to be looking as though it could be realistic that they actually start pressing the first two, which is Burnley and Sheffield United. MK Dons versus Ipswich. Well, Ipswich was one of the bets where I thought and actually it were like kind of weighed in early on because they went top and they were scoring goals for fun, and then the wheels came off, and then quite a few of the other top teams, Sheffield Wednesday, Derby, started getting involved, Bolton, and obviously you got Plymouth at the top. Not really one of the bigger teams, but obviously certainly doing very well. And Ipswich seemed to have dropped down there a bit, so this is a must-win game for them. And then finally on this bet is I've had Mansfield. I think they might have been about 8-1. I think I had them each way. They started off slowly. Nigel Clough insisted on playing fullbacks up front, centre forwards at fullback. But now finally, I think he's found 4 players in the window that actually playing in the right position, and they seem like, bearing in mind, a lot of them players that he had were injured on the first day. So that was quite interesting, or disappointing, should I say. So, yeah, Mansfield versus Salford. It's definitely a test for Mansfield, but they've definitely seen them on the up. So we'll be shouting those teams on for more than one reason. So those are all the bets for Saturday. Believe it or not, I'm having a very small amount of whiskey, and I shall be asleep in probably 1 hour on a Friday night. So very best of luck. Sorry, it's been a disappointing last probably week and a bit. Hopefully we can get back on track. So the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.